Welcome to the CFL Outsider, a short series of totally impartial hot takes, odd takes, and generally unconventional opinions on the CFL and Canadian football, with your host and presenter, Old Man Shouting at Clouds.
Hey kids, welcome back to the CFL Outsider for week 12. Well, that didn't make anything any clearer. Oh, what a week. What a wild week in the CFL. The games are just amazing this year. You can't, if you're not entertained by this stuff, you probably don't have a pulse or you just don't like football. How did I do on that amazing week of football? Well, pick'em, I was 2-2, which puts me at 30-14, so 68% roughly, a little over 2/3. I'm hoping to get better this week. Check it out on Old Man Plays CFL Pick'em in under a minute. Check that video out, you'll see my picks for this week. And fantasy this week? Well, the good news, no quarterbacks were harmed in the making of my fantasy team. Yay, the curse may be over. I actually, first time in 5-6 weeks, quarterback made it through the game and is actually supposed to be starting next week. I went with Jake Maier because, he's the most durable quarterback in the league. He hasn't been hurt in a year and a half. Didn't get me a lot of points. Got me 20 points, but I'll take it because it broke the curse. I'm hoping. Please, please. I did get 94.9 points this week. Not into triple digits, but I'm hopeful for next week going ahead. Got the curse out of the way. We're ignoring that I had Leak and he got hurt because that's not a quarterback. That's got to happen anyway. I don't have a rant for you this week because frankly this is the only really bad news in the CFL this week, and I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm just really disappointed in the league for their priorities on a reinstatement. Enough said. Let's get to the games because they were some good ones. So let's start with game one. Ottawa 31 at Calgary 29. We all love a good feel-good story. Congratulations, Jerimah. Love to see you come back the way you did. Now at the start of this game, the CFL said they've reset the command center. They're going to go back to what it was originally intended for. It's only going to be used to clear up or overturn clear and obvious mistakes. I'm skeptical. And frankly, through the week, I think my skepticism proved right. But we'll get on to a bit more of that later. Lapo was in the booth this time. Now, Lapo's a great football mind. He makes wonderful observations on the game and points out things that even a longtime fan like me can be missing. He adds an awful lot of value as a color commentator. Unfortunately, his delivery might have you nodding off if you're not really into the game. So keep him for the exciting games, TSN. And maybe not that mauve suit. I mean, Milt can pull it off, but at Lapo you can't, and especially when you put on the orange cowboy hat. Old Man is calling this. I'm calling it a fashion crime. If I'm calling it that, then other people are too. So there we go. What else do we have? Again, don't want to harp on the officials, but I felt like early in the fourth quarter they did miss a fairly blatant offensive PI call. McGee from the Red Blacks had a really good chance at an interception. He was covering Barnes from the Stampeders. Barnes grabs his arm and holds it down so he can't make the interception at all. If that had been a defender doing that to the offensive player, it would have been obvious pass interference. We've got to hold the offensive players to the same PI standards. If you've got a chance for a pick, you should have a chance for the pick. And I mean, you're not going to get it from the PI, but you're at least going to get a 10-yard penalty. And that's something for it. It shouldn't be a double standard. Let's see, what else do I have here? Tommy Stevens kind of showed us why he's the short yardage quarterback. If you watched the game, you noticed he picked out someone in the stands to throw a touchdown celebration ball to and missed, whoever it was, missed by a mile. Hit the wall. I thought Aiden John from the Red Blacks did a really nice job running down Peyton Logan in the second quarter there. A D lineman catching a running back like that, that was pretty. And then the last thing is, are the Red Blacks not the new cardiac kids? At least they didn't need a sort of weird kickoff in this game to come back and get the walk-off field goal. I mean, what did they get? They got the ball back with like 38 seconds left, and they took a holding penalty, and they were down on their 30 or something, and yet somehow Mazzoli gets them into position just in time. They had to check to see that there was time left on the clock. I'm sitting there yelling at the receiver, just get down, get down. I think it was Addison, just get down, and he made it to the sidelines, luckily in time. But nice win for the Red Blacks there. You guys really are turning into one of the top teams this year. And I guess that's it for this game, or for that game. So game 2, Montreal 27 at Saskatchewan 24. That big Birdy Wheel just keeps right on a rolling. Man, Montreal's looking good. This was a great game, though. And my first thought is it shows that a game between two really good defenses can be every bit as exciting as a shootout. Too often we get what are called defensive games because we have two really anemic offenses. This game, the offenses were good, but the defenses just played much better. I do want to say, and this is important, this is not a joke or anything, this is serious, I want to give big kudos to Thomas Bertrand Hodon of the Riders, their backup running back. First player I've seen wearing a Guardian cap in-game in either this league or their one down south. And I think that is fantastic. Good idea. I hope others will follow his lead. Put your own safety ahead of any kind of false machismo or whatever, and just do what's safest for you so you can play the game as long as possible. I was really happy to see the job CJ Revis did with when there was a fumble and he knew to knock it just out of bounds rather than try and recover it. When an American player takes the time to learn the subtleties of the difference in Canadian rules, that impresses me. Too many of them don't know when it comes to situations like that. I also got to say, I loved the A.J. Howlett halftime interview. He spent the first half pounding into the line. If anything, I'm not disappointed, but I think A.J. runs almost front heavy. So when he breaks through, if he gets through, he ends up stumbling. If you look at, say, Brady Oliveira instead, he's got a little bit more balance back there, and he's able to keep going on this stuff. But A.J. does pound it. You cannot take that away from him. And after doing that for a half a game, when he's asked at halftime how's it going, he gives great praise to his O-line, but he says, but I'm running soft. The man obviously loves contact. I don't think you could force him out of the game of anything short of actually having a limb torn off. He took that flying, whatever it was, ended up flat on his back. Looks like it would have killed most people, and he's back in the game. What a player. What a player. What else do I have from that game? Let's see. Dante Myers was his second game with the Riders. He's a hell of a receiver, but he looks like he should be playing on a junior varsity team. How can somebody with that baby face be a pro football player? On the downside, I think it's definitely time the Riders bring in someone to push Brett Lau there, a little competition, another kicker, because I don't know, he's a much better kicker than he showed in that game. And everyone's allowed an off game, but I do think he needs to be pushed a wee bit. At the danger of repeating myself, Roland Milligan had a hell of a game. He's got to be one of the best defenders in the league, if not the best. He should be maybe Defensive Player of the Year. Some people are saying he should be maybe MOP for the year, and I wouldn't argue that. And it's not just defense. He was there on special teams too. Made one beautiful, beautiful tackle on special teams. I'm sure there were others I missed. He's an amazing player, and the Riders are lucky to have him. Unlike, say, maybe Amari Henderson, who missed a lot of tackles in this game, did not have his best game by far. Maybe it's just, Sales had a bad game against Hamilton and bounced back from that. Maybe it's the same thing. But I got to wonder a little bit, are we going to see Dontel Williams back at that corner spot this week after a performance like that? I guess the coaches will see what happens in practice, and they know what's best, so they'll make their decisions. And that takes us to Game 3. Edmonton 47 at Hamilton 22. Confidence is an amazing thing. Wow, look at how the Elks have turned it around. What a difference a month makes. In Week 8, they played the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Edmonton, and it was almost the mirror image, or a reverse mirror image of this. I think it was like 44-27, and this is 47-22, but same thing. This game, though, it was the Ticats that had given up by halftime. And it was, everybody's probably seen that nasty hit to Luther Haknavana, and then saw Taylor Powell go down too. So you can understand the Tiger Cats maybe playing a little off, worried about teammates like that, but they got to do better. And, again, Bo is, he's playing not bad, but he's not great. But there's just, the rest of that team just doesn't seem to be able to do it. And I do think they're actually kind of looking forward to next year already. They've gone to Powell. They took Butler out for this game and put Greg Bell in at running back. I think they're looking at what pieces they have for next year. And, of course, they brought in, as we found out on Sunday, they brought Chris Jones in. Anyway, I also want to say I don't know anything about Stavros Kasantonis. I hope I'm getting close to your name there. My tongue tends to stumble over some of the tougher ones. But anyway, I don't know anything about him. He may be a great guy. I don't know. I just see what I see on the field. But I do have to question the priorities of somebody like him when he makes a sack. Your team's down 28-3, and he makes this strutting celebration out of it all. That's not the time to celebrate. And on top of it, he celebrates by pulling up his bloody jersey and showing off his ads like it's some kind of a lame Tinder post or something. I find it awful hard to have respect for a player that does that. I don't mean to come down hard on the Tiger Cats, but that seems to be part of their problem, is they seem to have a lot of people that are just thinking about themselves. There was a game a couple of weeks ago. I can't remember exactly who they were playing and what the game was, but it was one of their regular ones. They were getting blown out. Late in the game, they get a garbage time, a yards after beat down, kind of touchdown or points after beat down to Keandre Smith that means nothing. And he turns around after catching it and mimes at the DB a pistol shot. What is that? That's no wonder the team, if that's the kind of atmosphere in the locker room, if those are the things that are encouraged, though people feeling great about their individual achievements, even though the team is really playing crappy, that explains a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if we do see at the end of the year a full-out house cleaning. Orlando Steinhauer is president on down, and unless there's people that haven't been completely corrupted by it, but it looks wrong. It looks wrong there. Time for a change, I'm thinking. Let's see, what else did I have? I did wonder too, everyone talks about how well Bo is playing and how experienced he is and everything. Through most of the game, the Edmonton corners were, especially on any kind of go routes, were playing great. They were over top of the Hamilton deep receivers, had them completely blanketed on the deep stuff. So why wasn't Bo making a few back shoulder throws and giving his receivers a chance? Why did he keep putting it out in front ahead so that nobody had a chance at it? I don't know. I did enjoy the halftime panel, the panel at halftime, the TSN panel at halftime. Just absolutely giddy over Nathan Rourke coming back, and I kind of was the same. Again, what a difference the next day made. But there, and I really thought the last thing on this game is I really thought that the TSN showed a shot at halftime that just summed it all up. There was a shot of one of the Hamilton fans in the stands holding his nose, and yeah, sorry, Tabby fans, I really hope that by next year they get it all sorted out and give you back the team you deserve. That's about it for that game. So let's go to game 4. Winnipeg 20 at BC 11. Nathan also can't fly. And yeah, I mean, there were so many people, including myself, who got caught up in all the hype and thought he was going to be Superman on Sunday night there. He was going to come in on 3 days practice, not having played a Canadian game in a year and a half, 2 years, I guess, or almost 2 years, and light the place up. And against a very good defense that's finding its stride, and it didn't happen. Now, I don't know, maybe we were influenced a bit by what we saw of Jeremiah Masoli on the Thursday night game. We've all felt so good for him coming back after basically 2 years off of football, and he played well, and he was creative, and did a very good job. But he's been there with that offense all the way through, talking to the other quarterbacks, working with it. Nathan's just come back, and yeah, he should remember the offense from 2 years ago, but he's not going to be proficient in it. So there was that, and maybe that was the other part of it. Maybe it was just that there was so much hype in the media, overhype, that we all got caught up in it. But it does show the power of mass delusions, because we saw what happened. And what happened was, well, the books made out like bandits on that game. Of the gamblers betting on Nathan's props, 85% of them took for the over for him going 278 yards, and 90% took the over for 1.5 touchdowns. A lot of money was lost. But hey, the Lions can run the ball. Who knew that? And Ben Major should maybe look for a side hustle, a side gig as a stand-up comedian, because his timing on the call on that punt that hit the scoreboard was perfectly delicious. Couldn't have been better. And then the other thing is, I thought that this game really highlighted the fact that we're seeing really good Canadian DBs come into the league now. It's amazing seeing the Canadians at the position. They've always played the O-line and some receiver, but now we're getting more playing the tackle on the O-line. It's not just the interior, which is tough. We're seeing it is the year of the Canadian receiver. I mean, they are playing lights out of their minds. We've got some good Canadian DBs and linebackers. You look at BC's crew that's largely Canadian. Calgary plays Canadians there in the linebacker crew. So they've got that. So the last thing that's really been tough to get in has been DBs playing anything other than safety. And there are some very good safeties. You know, like you look at Dequoy in Montreal, and given whatever he is with his cheering in that, Casantonis in Hamilton plays a nice job at safety. Bo Lacumba's doing a nice job. Nelson Lacumba's doing a nice job with the Riders. So they're there. But this game had 4 of them that generally don't play safety. Patrice Rene was playing safety this game, but he's normally down as the strong side linebacker, which is basically a DB position. And then they also have Adrian Green playing one of the halfback spots. And on the Winnipeg side, they got Tyrell Ford playing the corner and maybe be the best corner in the league right now. And then you have Retta Kramdi. Am I pronouncing it right? I'm sorry, Retta, if I'm getting it wrong. Like I said, my tongue stumbles over all of this. But you're playing a great job down at that strong side linebacker spot too. So it's nice to see there's really no positions that the Canadians aren't starting to put some damn good players in. And in fact, even the world players, instead of just having punters and kickers now, we're starting to see some good D linemen, which is another good spot for them to come in. I expect eventually, give us another 10 years, we'll start seeing them spread out to the other parts of the field too. And it's good to see the game expanding that way. Anyway, that's just about all that I've got for the games this week. Just a few other sort of quick observations on the week. Oh no, I'm sorry, I forgot. My gambling suggestions for the week. Looking at the games this week, if you're thinking about doing any betting on the games or prop bets, don't. Okay, and then also looking at sort of my other observations for the week. Okay? Can we please, I know there's the new owner in Edmonton, and I know that he's not great on the mic, and I know that he's been sort of inconsistent on what he's saying about will they change the name or not. Can we just stop talking about the name, please? Whatever happens, I'm sick of trying to convince rednecks that their ruby red memories are not more important, don't mean more than respecting the dignity of an entire culture. So let's just leave it and hope that they're smart enough not to go back to anything racist. Also, speaking of sort of bad news, Chris Jones, like I said, he's back with the Hamilton Tiger Cats as their DC. I think that took, 4 or 5 weeks for him to get back to the league? He's harder to get rid of than a cockroach. And speaking of cockroaches, like I said at the start, one's been reinstated in Toronto, but let's not think about that. And then the last thing is, it may be time to just raise the control center to the ground and start over. They said this week that they're going to go back to what it was originally meant for, that they'll only call clear and obvious penalties. If they have to slow it down real slow to see the difference on like a PI or something, they won't do that. They'll call it closer to real time. I like that. I've always said it should be called in real time. But the thing is, even in real time, they made mistakes again this weekend, and obvious ones that the fans can see. They've become a very annoying and distracting story to the CFL this year. It's hard every week watching the games and trying to keep enjoying it while knowing that there's the people that should be the experts, that should be making the proper calls, are not. You know, this week, even the Rider fans who bitch about everything, they actually had a legitimate reason to bitch about that missed out of bounds call. They might not have won the game anyway, but it would have been a different outcome than the way that it was. And yeah, I know you can say they missed 4 field goals and they made other mistakes. They didn't deserve to win the game. If the call had been made right on that third down, who knows? Maybe Montreal goes for the touchdown anyway. If they don't, then Saskatchewan's got the lead. And if they kick the field goal, it's tied and it goes into overtime. So even with the mistakes, they have a chance to win the thing. And that's how it should be. The players should decide it. If the officials can't make proper calls, then why are they on the field? Sorry, I guess I'm leaving in a kind of an off note this week, and I shouldn't do that. I'm actually really trying to make this program more upbeat and find good, exciting things to talk about. But in a lot of ways, it was a tough week in the CFL with the, all the blather over will there be a name change, won't there, and then the reinstatement, and then, the hype over Nathan and everybody sort of being put back to earth, and on top of it, let's just really hope that it gets better. And I guess this is what I keep reminding myself. No matter what happens, instead of complaining, I'm just here for it. I'm going to embrace the chaos. So yeah, enjoy this week's games. Have a great time. We'll be back next week. And until then, get the hell off my lawn.